Dear students, we have almost come to the end of this particular topic, continuity. We have worked out many problems in the earlier sessions, and in this session I am concluding this topic, continuity, of this chapter, continuity and differentiability. After this one I am starting the differential calculus part, that is to find the derivative of different types of functions. Now here I want to prove a theorem which is known as algebra of continuous functions. What do you mean by algebra? When two functions are given, say f and g, that is the statement of the theorem here. When two real functions which are continuous at a particular point are given, then we try to prove that the sum of them f plus j, the difference of them f minus j, the product f into j and the quotient f by j, where g of c is not equal to, that is, as you know that the denominator should not become 0. So, then all of them would be continuous at the point C. Here I am just going to prove any one of them because the proof will be repeated for all the remaining parts of the theorem. So, let me consider the first part here, that is, given two functions f and j which are real and which are continuous, that is important here. When two individual functions are continuous, their sum, their product, the difference and quotient will also be continuous. That is the meaning of that one. Now, here we come to the definition of the continuity at a point here. Look here, f is continuous, g is continuous at the point c, that is given. That means that the limit of the function f at c and the value of the function at c, they are equal to each other. Similarly, g is also continuous at the same point, means the limit as well as the value of the function would be equal at the point c. Okay, that is the meaning here. So, we consider the general definition of continuity at a point. Now, let me prove the result here. So, you can write proof. Here, how do you start this one? Look here. F is continuous. First you have to write like this, given f and g are continuous at c, that is limit of fx as x tends to c is equal to f of c and limit as x tends to c of gx is equal to g of c. Of course, the same point you have to take. If one is continuous at one point, in another is continuous some other point, we cannot use this theorem. This theorem does not hold good. The point should be same. Both the functions should be continuous at the same point. So, limit of fx as x tends to c equal to fc, limit of gx as x tends to c equal to gc. Now, while proving this result, we use so many facts. One is algebra of the functions, which I learnt in first PUC, and algebra of the limit of the functions, again which was studied in first year PUC. Both those information would be used to prove this result. Now, our first problem, I am taking the first result here. I am proving the sum of the functions. I am showing that f plus j is continuous at x equal to c. That is what we have to prove here. So, using the definition of the continuity of a function at a point, what I have to prove is limit of f plus g should be equal to the value of f plus j at c here. So, first what I take is limit of f plus g, of course, of x as x tends to c. What I should show now? It is the value of the function, that is it has to be equal to f plus g of c I have to show. That is, this is limit I am starting with. Then you have to show that the limit of this one is actually equal to the value of the function, that is limit f plus g of x as x tends to c should be equal to f plus g of c, just like this one. Instead of 1, I will be having a sum of 2, that is the only difference. The same thing, look here, limit fx as x tends to c equal to f of c, limit gx as x tends to c equal to g of c. Therefore, limit f plus g as x tends to c of x should be equal to f plus g of c. Now, using the algebra functions, I am writing this as limit x tending to c of f of x plus g of x. Now, you have to give the reason algebra of functions. This is again the first year part, algebra of function. Now, here we come to the algebra of the limits of the function. So, when the sum is there, the limit is applicable to individually, that is to both the functions individually. Limit of fx as x tends to c plus limit of gx as x tends to c. Here it is algebra of limits. First one is algebra of functions. I am giving the reason there why I have written that one. First one is algebra of the function. Now algebra of the limits. Now you can write it as f of c plus g of c. What is the reason? Already I have given. The reason that should be given is since they are continuous, or if you have written this already, you can give a number 1 like that from 1, or you can write the functions are f and g are continuous. Give the reason f and g are continuous. Now you can write it as together f plus g of c. What is the reason? Again we go back to the first reason. This is algebra of the functions. So what did you get here? We started with the limit of the function. Limit f plus g of x as x tends to c. We have seen that it is equal to f plus g of c. That is the value of the total function f plus g at the point c is equal to limit of f plus g as x tends to c. Now so you can come to the conclusion, therefore f plus g is continuous at the point c. Similarly, we can argue for the other one. Instead of plus here, you can take it as minus. There, every place plus would be replaced by minus. The same condition, algebra of function, algebra of limits, and again continuity of the function, and again algebra of the function. Same thing for f into g or f by g. But here when you consider the quotient, you have to be careful that when you give the value c to the function g, it should not be equal to 0, because you know that whenever 0 comes in the denominator position, we cannot take that into consideration since division by 0 is not defined at all. Therefore, whenever you have a quotient, you make sure that the denominator is not equal to 0. Under that condition, we can define the function. So, this is the procedure. So, usually it is this particular theorem, though it is an important result connected with the continuity of the function, it is not a regular question in the question in all the earlier examination. But you should know this one, it is a basic information, because wherever you come across the sum, difference, product or the quotient of the continuous function, because of it's a standard theorem. So, because of this one, you can use the result and you can solve the problem rather easily. Now, this is about the algebra of the algebra of the continuous function. That is, remember this one, whenever two functions are continuous at the same point, that is important, then the sum, the difference, the product and the quotient, assuming that the denominator of the quotient is not equal to 0, they will be always continuous at the same point, of course. Now, I am considering some standard functions now. I am considering the standard functions. Standard functions. I am going to verify the continuity of this one, or I am proving the continuity of the standard functions. First one is a constant function. First one is a constant function. See, in first year PUC, you are taught about all these one. Many standard functions you had learnt. One was a constant function, the modulus function, the identity function, a polynomial function, a rational function. And of course, you have learnt about some graphs of some certain functions also. Modulus function already we have discussed in any one of the earlier session. That is whether it is continuous given a particular point, or what will be the continuity of that one, will it be continuous or not, we have already discussed in detail. Here in general I am considering. the constant function. What do you mean by constant function? That is y is equal to fx is equal to k, or you can take c also. Generally we take it k. Wherever we come across constant, we want to denote a constant, we use the letter k here. Y equal to fx equal to k. K is some constant, it can be positive, it can be negative. Of course, it is a real function, all real functions only we are considering. Suppose you draw the graph of this one, it would be nothing but a straight line. Whatever may be the value of x here, suppose you give x is equal to 1, it would be k. I will take a numerical example. Suppose the function is like this, y is equal to fx equal to 3, let me assume. If I give the value 1 here, how do you draw the graph here? This is origin, x, y, x dash, y dash, isn't it? Suppose I give the value 0. When x is 0, y would be 3. Irrespective of the value of x, no, it remains a constant always. That is why it is called as a constant. When x is equal to 0, y is 3. When x is 1, y is 3. When x is 2, y is 3. So if you join all of them, now what you are getting? A straight line parallel to the x-axis. You can observe that it is certainly continuous in whatever way you produce, to the right or to the left. If you extend the line, no, it would be always straight line, there will not be any break in the graph. That is, when you draw the graph, see, to know the continuity of any function, if you draw the graph, certainly you will know. But without drawing the graph, now using the definition of the continuity, we always find or verify the continuity of a particular function. So that was a number, exact number I had given, I am considering here generally. Let y equal to fx, b equal to k, be the given constant function. I just want to verify whether it is continuous or not. When I draw the graph, certainly you have understood it would be a continuous function, there will not be any break in that one. But we have to prove here logically, according to the rule, according to the way we have proved the earlier problems. Now you observe here, this particular function is defined for all the real values. You can give any value for x, you can give positive value, negative value, 0. And a real value means it can be positive, negative integer, positive, negative rational number, positive, negative irrational number including 0. So any value can be given. So how do you write this one? This function is defined for all real values of x. For all real values of x. That is what we have done in some of this one. That is, I hope you remember, when the point was not given in the problem, we took a general point C. Same procedure here also we are adopting. The function is defined for all real values of x. Okay. Now, let me take some general number. Let C be any real number. Let the C be any real number. Then let me calculate f of c. How is the function given? F of x is equal to k. Here k means it is a constant. Whatever value you give for x here, this does not change. Now f of c is equal to k. Now this is the value of the function. Now let me calculate the limit. Limit of fx as x tends to c is equal to limit of k, that is how the function is defined, as x tends to c. Look here, if we had a variable x like that, x or any type of function which involved x, we could have changed x to c. We could have replaced x by c here. But it is a constant that remains the same. You cannot write 3 as 4 or 4 as 3 like that. Now what is k here? It is nothing but the value of the function. That is, limit fx as x tends to c is equal to f of c. Therefore, how do you write the conclusion? The conclusion is the constant function is a continuous function. And what is the value of c? It is some real number. I have not given any particular value. If a value is given, we can say it is continuous at that point. Whereas here, it is a general point I have taken. So, when it is true for any real number, it will be true for all the real numbers. That means that the function is a continuous one. Fx equal to k, it is a continuous function at every real point. So, we can come to the conclusion it is continuous. Since c is any general real number, the function is continuous for all the real values of x. In general, I can say it is a continuous function. The next one is second one, identity function. Identity function. Even this you have studied. Now, how do you take the identity function? The definition is like this: y equal to fx equal to x. That is, you give values, say x is equal to 1, f of x is equal to 1, x is equal to half, f of half is equal to half, like that. Whatever value you give, it would be equal to the value of y. When x takes certain value, y, that is y is equal to x. If you combine this like this, its meaning is y equal to x. Any value you give x, the same value y will also have. That is the meaning of that one. Suppose you draw the graph of this one. See, again I am telling you, drawing the graph and you cannot get the continuity, you should not show the continuity. You have to prove it according to the way we have to prove. Now, let me draw the graph of this one. Why I am drawing the graph is that gives you an idea, or you will have a clear picture of that one, why it is continuous. Now, it is defined for all the values of x, for all the real values of x. Now, y is equal to x, isn't it? Suppose I give x is equal to 0, y would be 0. So, this is 1 point, x is 0, y is 0, 1 point. When x is equal to 1, y would be equal to 1 because x and y they are equal. So, here 1 and 1. When x is minus 1, y is also minus 1. So, x is minus 1, y is minus 1. When x is 2, y is 2. When x is minus 2, like this. See, in high school, you are drawing the graph, no, usually we would give about 5 values. Suppose you join all of them now, you can clearly see that it is a line passing through the origin. In analytical geometry, you have studied about this one. It is of the form y is equal to mx plus c, which was nothing but a straight line. In the absence of c, the constant, the line passes through the origin. Now, y is equal to x, fx equal to x. Now, first you write, this is called as an identity function. This function is defined for all real values of x. This function is defined for all the real values of x. Now, as usual, let us c be any real number. Let us c be any real number. Then let me take the function. The function, how we have defined, fx equal to c. Therefore, f of c would be equal to c. Whatever value you give for x now, it would be same for y also. Now, let me calculate the limit. Limit of fx as x tends to c. What is the definition of the function? It is limit of x as x tends to c. So, in the previous problem it was a constant. So, k was there, we wrote k, whereas here it is a variable. So, this should be given the value c. That would be equal to c. But what is c equal to? It is nothing but the value of function at that point, that is f of c. In other words, limit of fx as x tends to c is equal to f of c. So, that is the limit of that function as x tends to that particular value is c, and also the value of the function is also equal to c. That means that what is our conclusion? The function is continuous at this point c, but we have taken to be any real number here. So, the function is continuous for all the real values of x. In other words, it is a continuous function. I showed you the graph of that one. It is a line passing through the origin. You can extend on both the sides of the line. okay, to the above that one or below that one, you can extend any number and it goes like that without any break at all. So, it becomes a continuous function. So, you can generally say it is continuous for all the real values of x, and you can also say that it is continuous, it is a continuous function we can say, or we can say the function is continuous for all the real values of x, both mean the same thing. Now, another function, again this you have studied, polynomial function. Polynomial function. Of course, in first year PUC, we had drawn the graph of constant function as well as the identity function. Polynomial function was defined in general, and therefore, we had not drawn any particular graph for that one. Now, let us take a function y is equal to fx as a0 x to the power n, a1 x to the power n minus 1, a2 x to the power n minus 2, etc. Last one is an. Now, I am considering a general polynomial function. If you take a particular example here, say y is equal to 2x square plus 3x plus 4, or y is equal to x to the power 4 plus x square minus 4x plus 9. Now, these are called as polynomial function. I am giving a particular value here. Now, here x, the highest power is 2, and this 2 is called as a coefficient. The number with the variable is called as a coefficient. You observe here, general thing I have taken, which is having the nth degree polynomial function here. So, a0, a1, a2, etc., an, they are all real numbers. Here I had written 2, 3, 4 like that. So, here first condition is a0 should not be equal to 0, and also a0, a1, etc., an, they belong to the set of the real numbers. Now, this is a general polynomial function. Why I have taken a0 not equal to 0 means, if this becomes 0, it will not be a nth degree polynomial, it becomes n minus 1th degree polynomial. This we are considering as a polynomial function whose degree is n. Therefore, we take that the first coefficient not equal to 0. So, now look at this function, this polynomial function. Clearly, we can see that we can give any value, any real value for x. See, suppose I take x equal to 1. Wherever x is there, write the value, you will be getting a function here. So, this function is defined for all the real values of n, real values of x, that is, it can be positive, negative integer, positive, negative rational number, positive, negative irrational number. All these values, all the real values can be assigned to the variable x here. So, we say the polynomial function is defined for all the real values of x. Suppose it had a denominator, we should have considered there would be certain limitation, because the denominator should not become 0, because we are having only the numerator part here, it can take any real value. Now, let us first we have to write that one. It is fx is defined for all real values of x. Same thing. See, the same argument holds good for everything, whether it is an identity function, a constant function, or a polynomial function, the procedure is same. First you have to write the function is defined for all the real values of x, first step. Next is, let the c be any real number. Let the c be any real number. So, when of course in the domain, so what I do is, I find the value of the function at c. That is, f of c means it is a0 c to the power n, a1 c power n minus 1, a2 c to the power n minus 2, etc. an. Okay. Now, this is the value of the function. Now, to know the continuity, what is the next step we do? We calculate the limit of the function as x tends to c here, as x tends to c. So, how do you find the limit? Wherever the variable is there, we write the value c there. So, in the given function, c it is again, it would be equal to a0 c power n. Same thing, wherever x is there, replace it by c. So, a1 x c power n to the n minus 1 and a2 c to the power n minus 2 and etc. an. Clearly you observe that this was the value of the function, this is the limit of the function. So, we see that it is they are equal to each other. Therefore, what is our conclusion? A polynomial function is a continuous function. See, you may remember while examining the continuity of many functions, the function was defined as fx equal to x plus 1, fx equal to 2x minus 3, fx equal to 4x plus 3, like that. See, then we had not proved this theorem, that is a polynomial function is a continuous function. So, there you have to verify using the basic definition of continuity, because you cannot directly write a polynomial function is always continuous, because a point is given, the verification is required there. We find the value, we find the limit, see that they are equal to each other. If in any other context, if you come across a polynomial, if you are discussing about the continuity of that one, you can use this particular result. It is a standard result. A polynomial function, because it is defined for all the real values of x, it is continuous for all the real values of x. It is always a continuous function. If you draw the graph of that one, you will be seeing that one. Here I have taken a general one. If you take a particular polynomial function, we give the different values for x here and just to join them, all the points here, then you will be getting a continuous function. So, a polynomial function is a continuous function because it is continuous at each and every real number, each and every real values for x here. Now, we take it as a continuous function. Now, one more function I want to discuss, the fourth one, it is a rational function. And here also last year we are given the definition of the rational function, but here what we had done was generally we had defined like polynomial function, identity function, a modulus, all of them we had drawn the graph, you are familiar with that one. Here it is a general thing, polynomial as well as the rational function. Now, generally we write that one. Suppose there are two polynomial functions, say px and qx. Let the px and qx be polynomial functions. That is why I am considering this after I discussed about the polynomial function. If px and qx are polynomial functions, and another condition, qx should not be equal to 0. Always you have to consider that condition. Qx is not equal to 0, then f of x is equal to px divided by qx is called a rational function. Is called a rational. You are familiar with the rational number, isn't it? High school, we define any number of the form like this. Any number of the form p by q, where p and q are integers. Condition is q not equal to 0. I hope remember this one. We call it as a rational number. Here we are considering the polynomial function, so we call it as a rational function. When the numbers are involved, rational number. When the functions are involved, rational function. So, fx equal to px by qx, assuming qx is not equal to 0, it is called as a rational function. Now, just now I have shown that the polynomial functions are continuous function. In the previous case I discussed, a polynomial function is a continuous function. Now, px is also a polynomial function, therefore it is continuous. Qx is a polynomial function, therefore it is continuous. Of course, Qx is not equal to 0. Just now I taught you about a theorem also. The first, only one theorem I taught. In that one, when two continuous functions are there, see, polynomial function is continuous. According to the theorem, if f and g are two continuous functions, f plus j, f minus j, f into j and f divided by j will be a continuous function. Now, this being polynomial function, both px and qx are continuous functions. By the fourth part of the theorem, px by qx, assuming qx not to be equal to 0, certainly will be a continuous function. You have to give the reason like this. Px and Qx are polynomial functions. Therefore, they are continuous function. It is a standard result, wherever you want you can use that one. And then by the fourth part of the theorem, Px by Qx, that is the quotient of these two functions, is also continuous. Therefore, we can say a rational function where the denominator does not take the value 0 will be a continuous function. Now, these what I have proved in today's session about the algebra of the continuous function or the continuity of the 4 different types of functions I had considered. Usually they are not regular questions here, but this information is an important information because we come across a situation or context in different ways where we may have to use the knowledge of this one, that is an identity function or a constant function or in general a polynomial function or a rational function. We may have to use the thing that they are continuous function in some different context. Therefore, these are all standard values, standard information you can use wherever you want it. Now, this completes the topic, I am saying not the chapter, the topic on continuity. So, we have started with the definition of continuity and we have worked out the problems, and finally, we have concluded with the continuity of the different types of some general functions. In the coming sessions, I will be starting about the differentiability. Differentiability means I will be discussing about the differential coefficient, or we use the word derivative of different types of functions. So, if you remember the first year standard way, I mean the formula to get the derivative of a function, then we can use that knowledge to find the first year you have learnt about the derivative of algebraic as well as trigonometric function. Now, we will be learning 2 more basic functions, exponential and logarithmic. Then we will be learning the different methods of differentiation and different types of functions whose derivatives we will be discussing in the coming sessions. Thank you.